So welcome. This is the second day of the International Auto Show in Frankfurt, 2015 edition.
2015!
It still is 2015.
It's still 2015!
So this is our second wrap-up powered by Vodafone. And actually we are very close to the Vodafone booth here. We are in the middle of the connected car pavilion.
Yeah!
The car in the connected world, that's what I see. So what's happening with the car in the connected world? We've had some quite interesting interviews today.
Actually, yeah, you're right, we have. We've been learning about how we need the 5G networks if we want the autonomous car, because we need the 1 millisecond latency, not the 45-second latency.
It was something that gamers will totally love.
Yeah, and gamers will love this.
Yeah. So you just keep in mind a scenario when the car needs to decide by while it's connected to this network if it should just use the left or the right way to avoid an accident, and what kind of objects are on both sides. You need to have a very, very fast internet.
Yeah, and to let the cars behind you know that they need to stop because you're about to have an accident. You can't have 45 millisecond latency. You need 1 millisecond in all of those decisions. It's really life and death. So.
Which is therefore also a challenge for those guys that are working in the M2M business. So, which is also a matter of having standards, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You had an interesting interview earlier about standards.
Well, I talked to Ford. Well, the first panel I sat on with Ford was about the future of mobility and gamification.
Okay.
So that was a quite interesting approach, how the way they were merging it together. But it makes perfect sense because we should just not underestimate what kind of a driver Ford is for the smart car of the future. Because seriously, they were the first ones to come up with an open SDK, an open source developers platform. They were the first ones to start developers challenges, and that was quite interesting to see them again.
Well, and they're really they're the car manufacturer that's actually in the lead right now with their
by far.
With their pilot programs. I mean, a lot of companies are just thinking about, entering into this like modular mobility kind of scenario. But Ford already has pilot programs all over the world for car sharing, ride sharing, and they even have. They're working on building a bicycle into the back of your car, so you can decide. Too much traffic, maybe I'll just ride my bike the rest of the way. And
you've had a chance to take a look at this.
Yeah, I actually have had a chance to take a look at it. It's got a funny name, like the Moco or something like this. It's an awful name. But the guy who built it, I had an interview with him, and he actually never rode an electric bike before the one that he built. So when he got on his electric bike, he was like, damn, this is how an electric bike should feel. So he had no idea actually like what benchmark he was building to.
I think it's kind of scary.
It's terrifying actually, but to him it was like, you know what, I'm not going to try the competition because I want to build something new from scratch.
I like that.
Like not in any boxes, not with any benchmarks, just kind of building something that the best thing that he could conceive of building. And I thought that was really interesting because originally I thought, what do you mean you've never ridden an electric bike until you rode your own? But that's the kind of like no box scenario that Ford is really pushing about their whole ecosystem, and that to me is very different. Very different.
What was also interesting was how they were teaming up with game developers. It's not only, it's kind of data transfer in between the game development community and a car manufacturer is quite amazing. If you're just taking a look at Forza Motorsports, the new one, and how those engineers from Ford gave feedback to the game developers to make sure that, the look and feel of the cars are as real as it can get.
And this was the first time that a high-end car was actually released with a video game.
Yeah.
Right? So that was the debut of the car, was the debut of the new Forza. Yeah, and actually Ford in building the new Forza, or not building the new Forza, building the new Ford GT, they actually tried a whole bunch of new things. Like instead of doing a clay model, they built one out of styrofoam. They used 3D printing, right? So actually, they really pushed the boundaries of what people are doing just in technology. Period, not even just with technology in cars. So it's really inspiring to see a car manufacturer be so open to things like gamification, 3D printing, and really creating that kind of modular mobility that that we're looking for in the future.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of Ford brainwashing, it seems, today. We visited their booth, watched that Ford GT spin around about 1 million times. Oh, I haven't seen
The simulator was amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
and it was
you need
so
to-
big.
you need to check it out.
3 people could sit in it, so we both sat in it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I had some really excellent driving skills.
you know what? We have footage of this, and this is where I can bring this to a test.
We don't have footage of that.
We do. And you know what? I've had to buckle up next to Nicole.
No. I thought the road was a suggestion.
In general, what I love about this year's IAA is just it feels like the big merger of different industries. And before that, I thought the IFA in Berlin is the one, but that's the real one over here because this is the merger of this is reshaping our future environments. This is reshaping our future cities, our future homes, and of course our future cars. And to see here in Hall 3.1 where all of this coming together, we have a lot of startups here, we have the telecommunication guys here, and we have tier ones like Bosch over here that are also changing so drastically, radically, and quickly. It's an exciting time.
Well, so I mean, wandering around this hall, I mean, it's been a lot. Like we actually did our yesterday's wrap up from here, just because it's kind of it's where we're seeing that kind of merger, and it feels like the bleeding edge. I mean, a fast motor and an amazing car design. I mean, you can get this all over the IAA, but here is kind of where you're seeing that interesting intersection.
This is the hall of the future.
This is the hall of the future, and so we actually even stumbled across Qualcomm, which we know very well from our smartphones, and asking them millions of questions about when's the Snapdragon 810 going to be done.
Yeah.
But this hall, it's actually the first time that Qualcomm's exhibiting here, and like what was so interesting about it is because they have their charging pad, the wireless charging for the e-car, and then they're also really big into the connected car because they want to see their chips in future automobiles. Because right now, I would say Nvidia is the biggest push.
Nvidia is a huge challenge for all the SoC or chip manufacturers that are out there, which is quite interesting because of the development. When Nvidia entered the smartphone market with the Tegra 2, they were the first ones. That was on an LG phone at that time.
Yeah.
The first ones with a dual-core SoC. Then they were the first ones with a quad-core SoC, and everyone was so sad. Why do you need a quad-core performance on a phone? And then they went into their 4-and-1 setup. So they had that kind of one core for low power consumption tasks where we don't need a lot of performance. And then they made the switch starting with the K1 and now with the X1.
192
cores with the K1 and now with the X1. We had 256 GPU cores, right? Don't mix it up.
GPU cores. But still, I mean, now NVIDIA's like, how many cores can we have? More. When's it going to stop? Never. But when you have things like real-time computing of your surroundings, that's graphic intensive, right? Because you need depth perception. You need to understand that when a person walks out from behind a car, that person, even though to the computer it's a car, but that it's going to turn into a full person, and that's actually more difficult than it seems, and that's all in graphics. So I mean, I make fun, but at the same time, I see why.
I mean, they have graphics in their DNA.
Well, that's the point.
Absolutely. So I think right now they roughly around 20 design wins, working together with 20 manufacturers, which is also because they've been the first ones to kind of show a modular system, right? With the MMX board, with the K1, and now with the X1, because this is crucial for this automotive industry, because this automotive industry with life cycles, with development cycles in between 5 to 7 years, with life cycles of 20, 30, maybe sometimes up to 30 years, 40 years, sorry, they need to really take a look at those developments from a completely different perspective.
Yeah.
And then it's about modular systems, and this is what Nvidia is providing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of wonder why they would be getting into automotive initially, because they make desktop graphics cards, right? And now they're going to be powering the autonomous cars in the future. And this is where it starts to get really interesting. And also, if we're still talking about why Nvidia's piqued my interest of late, it's also they're pushing to deep learning, right?
Yeah.
And this whole artificial, intelligence in the cloud, and all of that is kind of powered by supercomputers as well. And that's the base infrastructure behind how we're going to have this connected car and this connected highway. That's going to be there in the future.
I think there's something else we need to talk about.
Uh-oh.
What about electric cars?
Oh, what about electric cars? You talking about the Porsche?
Well, the Porsche is just... I also love the Audi, right?
Oh, yeah.
Their SUV looks... I mean, we talked about this already yesterday, and I was kind of reading a little bit about this. Maybe... I wouldn't say that I'm overexcited, but those cars look amazing. But what I want to talk about is, like 2 years ago, the IAA was all about the electric car. This year, it's more like, yeah, sure, we have an electric platform, but you know what? Here are hybrids, here are plug-in hybrids. And in general, the global market is still not really adopting this idea of electric cars.
I mean, places like California or even Amsterdam seem to have kind of embraced it, but that's because the city is big in providing infrastructure, or at least in California, it's all about Tesla providing infrastructure, right? And when you buy a Tesla, you can charge for free, right? And Tesla's doing the same thing in Amsterdam, which is how we got to ride in the Tesla taxi.
But don't do it too often on a supercharger station, because then Tesla sends you an email saying, hey, those supercharger stations are meant to be for people that are going cross one country. And then I'm kind of wondering about that. So is it free or isn't it free? I would just charge my car on a supercharger station each and every day, because that's what Tesla sold me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because if you have to have the commitment to fit your home with a charging station, and then you have to pay the electric bill on top of it. So I mean, you kind of expect that you can kind of take advantage of this. That's one of the things.
I mean, think about the battery that Tesla also brought to the market, right? This kind of home battery. I would just drive my Tesla to the supercharger station and bring it back home and recharge my home battery with my Tesla from the Tesla pump.
I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Is this guy just too conniving? Is he just being a really cheap German?
Hey, Tesla guys, sorry about that. But I'm just talking about a scenario that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And where it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to monetize this infrastructure. Tesla is so important for this market.
Yeah.
I just really love that, because that was the biggest wake-up call for the automotive industry ever.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay, maybe
since the 3.0.
No, that was a huge call, and a good one, and it's so important to see what's happening right now, how this industry is evolving.
So one thing that I wanted to say, thanks to everybody who watched our wrap-up yesterday. I liked all the comments that complimented me. Thanks, guys. But also, I know you didn't get any. There was no compliments for Sasha yesterday. It's all for me. But one of the things so we are reading the comments on these, and we do have one more wrap-up video coming tomorrow. So if there's something that you guys want to see from IAA and the whole auto show, our feet are your feet. We'll run around and I try to include some stuff and try to see some extra things. And because you guys are just watching the internet, maybe you're seeing something else that we're not.
Right.
Because this show is so freaking big.
Leave us a comment.
Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about Sasha today.
Well, thank you so much. Hi guys, thank you so much for watching us again. This is second Vodafone wrap-up of IAA 2015, the first IAA that has the topic Mobility Connects.
Mobility Connects.
You guys have a good one. If you like this video and Nicole in this video, leave her a comment, give her a thumbs up, share the video, subscribe to our channel. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
And this was Sasha Paladin.
Oh, thank you. That's me.